Dean Semler is one of the most graceful people who ever walked the earth.
Just let me get a reading here.
I've never seen anyone so enthusiastic about work as he is. He still has that childlike enthusiasm for what it is that he does.
I would kill to work with Dean at some point.
He's lost tips of 2 different fingers in shooting and never stopped.
His work speaks for itself. He is without peer as a cinematographer worldwide.
We shot a whole film called Apocalypto in the dark. I said, Dean, I can't see these guys. It's dark out here, and you hear this voice coming from the tent going,
You'll be right.
Beyond just his eye and his talent, he is a special man. There is nothing more sacred on a film set than trust. And Dean inspires the kind of trust that we all dream of. And because of that, artists often do their best work when they're working with him. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Dean Semler!
For whoever's got their finger on the switch to dim the lights or bring up the music tonight before I get escorted off the stage, for God's sake, don't do it till I thank my wife. Or we'll both be in deep doo-doo.
Dear Mr. Semler, congratulations on your cinematography award. My name is Brooklyn. I am 10 years old. Dear Mr. Semler, our class congratulates you for your hard work being a cameraman. I'm 10 years old. I hope you can come to our school and tell us about what it was like in Renmark when you lived here and how you became famous as a film cinematographer. P.S. I hurt my arm riding a motorbike. This is one of my favourite lights, a 5K power, very narrow spot. I used them a lot on Maleficent. If I had had these in the 50s and 60s, we could have used them for kangaroo shooting and rabbit shooting at night, you know. I grew up in Renmark in South Australia on the mighty Murray, a great river, great place, and a great town of about 7,000 people, great community town. I went to school there. I loved it there. I loved the air, I loved the space. I used to get on the bike as a kid and ride out of town, you know, ride for, you know, maybe half an hour until I could see a horizon or a vista. I loved all that. I just felt good doing that.
He knew he'd come from a poor background and they used to grow their own vegetables and fruit. The electricity had to be turned off at a certain time at night, and they were only allowed to have lard on their bread and all that sort of thing. So he really came from nothing.
Yeah, I'll take it to my house. I think it's still there on 19th Street. It's a fibro house made of asbestos, and Dad was lucky enough to get one of these housing trust houses that was allocated to us, and not a fence, just a house sitting on clay, and if it rained, it was like your feet had become a foot thick with sticky clay. This one here. But there was nothing here when we arrived. I think ours was one of the first houses here. There's just flat bed, nothing. Nothing over the other side but the railway station. It was all garden, yeah. He had beans, tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers all along here. And this was all vegetable, peach trees over there, peach trees here. Winter we had a big wood fire going and we'd be drinking some sherry, everyone's smoking. They were not mad wild parties, they were just singing all the songs at a time.
Bit of whistling.
And many a time the lady from next door would come over. Shut up, stop that music, go to bed, it's 11 o'clock.
I want to congratulate tonight the directors and staff
of NWS Channel 9 for their enterprise in bringing television to South Australia.
I walked into this television studio and good Lord, it was like being on the moon. I'd never seen anything like it. It was extraordinary. It was just such a foreign environment. I left Renmark sort of against my dad's wishes. He didn't want me going to Adelaide to work with these artsy-fartsy people in this new thing called television, which he hadn't seen. But it was only a few months later when a commercial was to be done on Adelaide Tonight, the live variety show. And it was a commercial with Lionel Williams, the host, standing in front of a rack of tip-top bread. And behind him, the props boys would come in and steal all the bread. So when he turned around at the end of the commercial, he'd say, "There you are, I told you it was popular." Well, I was going to be one of those props boys. White overalls with my name, Dean Semler, Channel 9. So I thought I'd let Mum and Dad know that maybe they could watch it at the neighbour's place. So I rang the neighbour because we didn't have a phone and we didn't have a television. So the neighbour went and invited them over, and I believe that Mum and Dad got dressed up. And I think from that moment on, Dad thought I was famous. I used to watch the news cameramen come in through the studio every night with their 16mm film cameras and rolls of film they'd shot during the day and their light meters around their neck. I thought, God, that's cool. Look at those guys, their suits and little skinny ties. I was lucky enough to get a job in the news department after 4 years being in the studio. I'd been a cameraman at the ABC in Adelaide and Sydney for several years, and I'd then been at Film Australia, another government organisation, for 9 years. So I was like 12 years a public servant.
When I first saw Dean, I was working as a makeup artist at the ABC in Adelaide, and he walked past and I went, "Whoa, who is that?" The assistant makeup artist said, "Oh, you're going to reach for the stars with that one." And I said, "Watch me. I'm a star catcher." We had to go out on jobs together, and one day we went out together and that was it. We lived in little apartments and cockroaches up the wall and flooded kitchens, and I just had Ingrid. I got a call from a friend of mine, "Annie, I want you to come to the music hall at Neutral Bay to audition for a dancer." And that was it. I was there for 6 years, every night, 6 nights a week. I suppose all the masters in every career need somebody to push them along and believe in them, and I certainly did.
She's always so right with everything, the bugger. She's always so right. I always run it by Annie, always, and she'll just know instinctively, hey, if you do this, you do that, and if you do that, that's going to happen. Oh, it's that simple. Wish I'd thought of that. When I was at Film Australia, I did several films in the outback. It's the first time I shot 35mm film, colour, and it was wonderful, wonderful experience. I loved the desert. I just loved it. Look at that. That's Australia.
That wonderful director, George Miller, came to Dean, and it was such a wonderful outline of a film, a script. And he just, I have to do it. This is incredible. I said, go for it, Dean.
It was back in the early 80s, and we were looking for cameramen, and a lot of the more established cameramen were already busy. And Dean sort of said, yeah, I've worked for, the ABC and Film Australia and so on. And, I thought, oh, gee, nice guy, really, really lovely guy, but I don't know what he could do. He said, oh, yes, I made a film for Film Australia, A Steam Train Passes, and you might want to have a look at that. In those days, you couldn't get a DVD, so we had a screening of the movie. And I saw this film. I thought, wow, this guy is so modest. He went out with a very small crew. It's a classic visual poem about an old steam train, incredibly beautiful and simple in its lighting. Its composition was just, you could see already a true artist. So I remember going and saying, hey, do you want to shoot this Mad Max movie? And he said, yeah, I'm up for it.
In a nightmare vision of tomorrow, this armada will terrorize a decaying civilization.
George Miller, the creator and director of the Mad Max series, was a huge influence on me. He taught me so much. I mean, I was pretty green as a filmmaker, not as a documentary filmmaker, but as a feature filmmaker. Certainly I hadn't done any action.
Dean came along with this crew of grips and gaffers who hadn't really done much of this sort of work, and it was a tough film.
George was also one to teach me to be very bold, to be gutsy with a camera.
On the battle-scarred highways of tomorrow's burnout world, a hero will make his stand.
Mad Max 2, and Dean was the lighting cameraman and also the operator. He was a one-man show, man. He was strapping himself to the front of trucks, and he was all over the place.
The first Mad Max was bewildering to me because I didn't realize making films was so tough. By the time I got to the second Mad Max, I realized that every film is tough. It's kind of creative warfare, meaning that you're fighting. You don't know where the landmines are, the weather, you're ready to shoot one thing, suddenly a storm comes in, or, you're doing stunts, you're always worried about injury. And in amongst all of this, there was Dean, the calm center of the film. And that's when I realized how exceptional he was.
He's never left the skills that he picked up when he was shooting documentaries and then working on the Mad Max films. And all of the dogma about, this camera's got to be still. Well, Dean learned something different, that an exciting shot is an exciting shot.
It worked. I mean, they were doing things like, you'd swear you saw some guy's head get rammed into the back of a truck, but it was just clever editing. And effects, if you like, because, they were using, fake heads with explosives in it and just intercutting it. So, it was stuff I'd never seen before.
George, he taught us a lot of tricks, simple tricks that now you would do visual effects. But then we just did them for real. We did them with like bits of wire and rubber bands. And there's no tricks in that. There's no visual effects. There's nothing fancy. It was all done in camera.
The feeling was incredible. The power, the energy on the set. And I'm glad I was there to witness it. And Ingrid was there too. So there's quite a few shots of her 12 years old alongside the Mad Max cars with Mel Gibson. This was the first collaboration between George Miller and Dean. And it's sort of a love story after that. They love each other, they respect each other, and I almost got tears. It's lovely.
When I was growing up, that's who I wanted to be, Mad Max. The first time I was allowed to go and see was Mad Max 2. I wasn't allowed to see 1. I just remember laughing for years and years about the boomerang scene where he cuts off his fingers, And my brothers and I, in the surf, would throw frisbees to each other and replay that scene over and over again. To us, that was like the funniest. I just loved that movie. And by the way, when I was filming X-Men, the first one, I was watching Mad Max, the Road Warrior. The director said to me, Wolverine's a lot like Mad Max. There's not a lot of dialogue, but you have to understand what's going on inside.
When it was released and seen around the world, it opened up so many doors for me that all of a sudden I was on the international radar, I guess, as a cinematographer.
Once that's on your resume for someone like Dean, then people are aware, hey, that guy who did that film. Because what was interesting about Mad Max 2 is it's got a lot of attention from filmmakers. In Mad Max 3, he said, I just got a call from Steven Spielberg. And he said he just wanted to call. Steven's like that. He just loves seeing other people's really great work.
What's wrong, Ben?
We're on the set of Dead Calm in Hamilton Island, and Dean got a phone call from John Milius in Hollywood, asking him to film Farewell to the King with Nick Nolte in Borneo. And Dean says, I can't do that. And he said, besides, my passport's run out and I don't have a passport. I'm on an island. I can't get back to the mainland to have it signed and fixed up, so I can't do it. So I rang up the postmaster and I said, how would you and your wife like to fly out to Hamilton Island and visit the set of Dead Calm? and sign my husband's passport for him so he can go and do a movie in Hollywood. And so he did. I hired a light aircraft and flew him out. Signed the passport for Dean. I said, now why can't you go? And he said, you hired a light aircraft. I said, it was only a small one, dear. But anyway, and that cinched that deal. And he did do it on his ear. In fact, they finished a week early. And the producers gave the whole crew a week's bonus.
Mum, I think her dream, lifelong dream, was to get to Hollywood. And I think she was pushing Dad, let's go, what are you waiting for? So I think Mum was a big inspiration and cow prod, basically to, support him and guide him and say, let's do it.
His agent gave him a script that Kevin Costner had offered him, so off he went to another wonderful experience, Dances with Wolves, and I think it's a classic.
It was beautiful shooting that film up in South Dakota, where the sun was very low. It was sort of autumn. It was beautiful. Some people said after Dances with Wolves it was God's light because it was mostly exterior. Well, it was God's light, but you have to choose the time of day to shoot it.
All the Native Americans were on the set, all in their full attire. My daughter was there too. She wrangled Kevin's horse. She was into horses. She was a real cowgirl.
My key job was to bring them all out onto set, feed them, and make sure Kevin's star horse, Cisco, there was actually, I think, 4 of them, 4 or 5. They all continuity matched, so that was a lot of fun. The day the buffalo ran, let's talk about energy. You could feel the ground and hear the roar. And then all of a sudden, goosebumps. Here they come. And then it was just adrenaline. Cameras, camera cars, people falling off, people getting back on again. It's amazing.
I was home in Sydney and I got a call about 1 a.m. in the morning from Jim Wilson, the producer of Dances with Wolves, and he said, hey buddy, you've been nominated.
Yes! So I told you so.
So I went back to bed and then woke up thinking, I had a dream last night. Maybe I had a dream, maybe I didn't have a dream, I don't know. But then the press started calling. It was very exciting.
No. Balsa wood.
What is it?
Balsa wood. Balsa wood.
The Americans really know how to celebrate success, and I had to go over to Los Angeles for all the lead-up events to the Oscars.
Oh, okay, we better go to Hollywood, I suppose, and experience all this. And I said, well, we're going to go 70,000 into the red, don't you? Because got to have a beautiful dress and shoes and earrings and jacket, and you've got to have a tuxedo, and we've got to stay in Hollywood for a month. I said, let's do it properly. And he said, yes. It was very thrilling and exciting. I think we're still on a high from it, actually.
Holy hell. This is sort of slightly different to my little asbestos house in Renmark, going to the ballroom in a tuxedo.
And the Oscar goes to Dean Semler, Dances with Wolves.
When it was announced, my only regret is, and a lot of people have said, you jumped out of the seat like a bloody scared rabbit.
And up he got. Zoom, he went. What about me? Where's the camera? Where's the kiss? And I said, next time you stop, you stand me up and you kiss me and off you go. So I'm waiting for that. He just zoomed out there.
My wife Annie, the blonde bombshell from down under, thanks. My daughter Ingrid, hi. Thanks for your love, your patience. I'm a very proud little Aussie up here tonight to accept this.
It was a highlight of our lives.
All of a sudden, if you've got an Academy Award behind you, Dave, it's like your name's up there on the top of the list, and so therefore you get more choices for work, better opportunities. But what surprised me more than anything was what it meant to my country down here. I didn't realise how much it was going to mean to Australia. I had no idea.
Just won a trophy. Thanks very much. There he is. Hey, Albie. How are you? Thanks. Have a look at him.
Fantastic, mate. You deserve it.
Want to leave him on the shelf for a while?
Yeah, right. Can we?
Get a few offers, yeah. A very special moment to me was country in Queensland. I was driving up there doing a recce for a film on my own, and I pulled into a petrol station to get petrol, and I filled it up. And I went to pay the guy, and he said, "No, mate, you're not paying for this one." I said, "Well, I've got to pay." He said, "No, mate, this one's on me." So I shook hands, I got in the car and I drove away. And as I drove, I saw him in the rear vision mirror just give me a little wave. I thought, oh, that's a moment. That's a moment in my life.
Welcome to Hollywood.
She came up to me and she said, "And what do you do exactly?" And I said, "I'm the director of photography, Your Majesty. I photographed the picture." She said, "How terribly interesting. I have a son-in-law who's a photographer." And I said to her, "Well, that's an amazing coincidence because I've got a brother-in-law who's a queen." No, I didn't. That's a story. That's a story. That didn't really happen. So here we are in Beverly Hills. Swimming pools, movie stars, black gold, Texas tea, Beverly Hills. You got properties in here that can be 10, 20 acres. You don't see them. They're all hidden with fences, hedges, trees. All the rich and famous. A lot of these are the houses, but not necessarily homes. They're show places. And look what I got, look what the money got me. And, you know, you can have a little place like I had in 19th Street, Renmark, which is a home. Most of my life I'm living out of a hotel room in a suitcase, and you need a special woman to be able to look after you and support you there. Annie is, he's very aware of what I'm doing as well. Very aware of how I'm shooting, what I'm shooting. I like to bring home the, what we call the rushes or the dailies and show her whenever I can. Dave Brubeck. She was an actress herself, and she knows light, and she knows how the camera works, and that's great to have someone sharing that with you. Not that we talk about that a lot when we get home at night. I tend to switch off. This is almost ready to cook. I made a sauce. I find it very therapeutic to come, to get back to the apartment or the hotel or home or wherever I am at the end of a shooting day and do some cooking. Annie's always there doing her side of it, doing the fruit and veggies, and I'm on the other side doing the, you know, the meat or the shrimps or whatever, and just good times we have together.
In fact, 4 of those, 5,259.
My daughter Ingrid travelled with us a lot, and she did stills on movies, she did art department on movies, she was a wrangler. She worked with me on several films as a loader, which is a very responsible job, handling, you know, millions of feet of film a day and making sure you don't lose it and where it is and what the numbers are.
It was the life, you know, you'd work 16 hours a day and then you'd go out partying. Yeah, you'd just socialise with the crew and that was your family. And then 4 or 5 months later, you say bye. And then, whoa, and then you move on to the next family. And some would stay, some would go, you'd meet new friends. Yeah, in a way, I didn't like that very much because you get attached to people and have a, you know, a bond or whatever, and then you have to say goodbye and never see them again. But you know what? Travelled around the world for, you know, 20 years, amazing locations, met some incredible people and did some amazing things from, you know, wrangling to photographs to, oh, you name it, gripping, electrics. Yeah.
Go that way. We're going to get up
higher.
This high?
You will? Yeah, change it. Just let me get a reading here.
Over there. Come on down here, ladies. Come on.
I saw Dances with Wolves, which I was just totally wiped out by. I just thought it was a great picture, beautifully photographed. And after meeting with him, having a couple of beers, I felt I had met a kindred spirit.
Just another quiet night at the Hardboard Diggers Club, really, is it? Oh, fabulous.
I realised that the experience that I'd had with Dean over many projects was universal, that everyone was having that sense that he's someone who can make everybody feel very warm and safe, when it could have been otherwise.
Dean's all about how do you get the greatest performance, which is, of course, everything that I want.
As one.
I come up and I'm...
One of the things that happens with actors when they know that Dean is shooting the movie is they feel a huge sense of confidence. Dean bonds with them in that he's watching their faces, he's watching their performance, and he's imagining constantly how he can light them in the best possible way, a way that enhances not just how they look, but how they feel and their freedom to move.
What really worked very well, which I've never used before, and I don't think anybody ever has, was the light source, the lack of podium. So if Mel looked this way just for a beat a certain time, I could cue instantly. I could hit up the light, hit his eyes. And if he looked away and I didn't want to really see his face,
We're surrounded, but we're holding on, sir.
you could leave them in shadow for as long as you like. And it was like conducting a little orchestra.
The stress was something that he was able to sort of really handle. There was the calm.
We just hinge around and there's Brumley coming up.
So there was nothing in the way of his creative instinct.
I like working with first timers because give them a big old shoulder to lean on, if they get stuck, and guide them through it and still be friends at the end.
To be a really great man, you can't be afraid, you can't hide who you are. So when something is really getting to him, he'll express that, but never in a whiny way, but in a way that reflects his wisdom and how he deals with things like that.
No, this is a 14mm. Yeah. I tell you what, all due respect, I don't think the lens is as sharp as it could be.
With each step, as cinematography has evolved, Dean has been at the forefront.
There's,
Those look all right, but it's when it
well, we
gets-
shot tests in Las Vegas at a casino, which had a massive variety of interesting and different lighting, which to the eye looks spectacular, but to film and to video can react in different ways. So I shot camera tests there with a full crew with a Sony F55 new camera, 4K. It's great the way they like those little tungsten lights up in the chandeliers.
Mm-hmm.
Dean, I'm going to have to step out, so I'm going to stand. Is it easier?
Oh, what?
Is that okay?
Well, we've got to start again now. A double will do good. These knock the light back. One stop, the doubles. Oh, this is a double, that's 2 doubles, 3 doubles. So now it's, oh, sugar. Stuff's falling apart here. I'll have to talk to Mr. Harvey. All right. Oh, there you are, good. Just someone on the 5K, please. Just pan it right. Just pan it off, edge it off a little. We'll go through the range here. We're 32 on the camera, right? So we're at 3200, 180 degrees shutter, 24 frames. Okay. David, let me introduce you to Polly. You were asking about Polly. This is Polly. You'll see how it works. You have a look at Greg without Polly on his face. That's with a bit of Polly. Isn't that Polly lovely? The first commercial I ever did in Australia, I'd been doing documentaries. I didn't know what Polly was. Polystyrene. All right, guys, thanks. That's good.
This is the Dean Semler wall, and this is just a sampling of some of his movies that we've done. So this is Paramount's We Were Soldiers. This was the first digital intermediate, full-length digital intermediate that we did, and Dean trusted us, and he really pioneered the DI process with us. And from there, that trust and that quality and everything that we did, we've created over 450 movies using this same process.
He was kind of one of the guys who was really big into the digital stuff when it first came, because we shot a whole film on the Genesis. This is what I meant about him being like a kid in a candy store with this stuff. It made firelight a viable possibility for the only lighting source at night. I've never seen anything like it. And we weren't disappointed. I mean, it looked amazing. It looked great.
Action!
great cinematographers from Australia always deliver the goods. Australians have come from this history of shooting available light and having to shoot no matter what the conditions and simply just getting on with it.
It's truly, if I had to single it out, this would be my favourite. It was shot on a Genesis camera, Panavision's Genesis camera, which allowed me to do a hell of a lot of stuff in a dark jungle that I couldn't have done on film.
Dean shoots big pictures, big frames with big compositions, and he brings it all together with this total ease, and then you see it on the screen and you think, how did he do that? Dean is a quintessential Australian. He possesses all the qualities of not only a good man, but a good cinematographer.
Bette Davis, goodness me. I'm free. Hey, I'm free. There's a photo in here. You want to see a photo? Have a look at this one. It's my little girl, Ingrid.
That's the one that was in Lawrence of Arabia. What was the film?
Oh, that desert shot with Anthony Quinn. Yeah, it's this
Anthony
shot.
Quinn.
What have you done with your Oscars? Is it as shiny as that?
No, mine got tinnier.
Mine's all corroded.
And all the gold came off the feet right up to the knees.
Me too.
Yeah, well, I took it
I'm
back.
not going to have it fixed though.
Why not?
Oh, otherwise it's a different one than the one I got.
No, your name's still on the bottom.
All right. You know the funnel webs in Sydney?
Yeah.
We had one. I got up one morning in my house and I go into the kitchen and there's a Vegemite jar with a lid on, clean, with a dead funnel web spider in it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. Addie got up and she said she got up in the middle of the night, this funnel web coming across the floor towards her. And the words from our spider guy down there was, find something heavy and lower it on. She lowered the Oscar into this funnel web.
I tell you what, the funnel web didn't stand a chance.
She was my idol from when I was a girl. You know, I used to play the records and I'd mime her. I'm singing in the rain, good morning, good morning, you know. It was great.
Absolutely.
And I loved her. And then, you mean Debbie Reynolds has a studio? This is it.
Happy Feet. Annie was the muse of that story. Annie was running tap dancing classes.
When we were still in Sydney, we were mates with George Miller and that, and I was teaching tap on a Saturday, and I said, oh, come along, George and Dean, and I taught them a number called Up on Your Toes, and George loved it.
Believe it or not, I mean, the one thing I couldn't do, but somehow she convinced me to go to her tap dancing classes. Ron, the local butcher, and Dean. A mixed bag of people were being taught by Annie to tap dance and put on a tap dance show here. And it was one of the great moments of my life. However, she planted the seed.
And he said, oh, thank you, Annie. I've always wanted to know what it felt like, and you know, on stage. And I think that inspired him, he said it did, to make Happy Feet. I ended up one of the penguins there for a little bit in that film, first film, and he got an Oscar too.
You know, Hugh Jackman holds her responsible for his career, and he's gone on talk shows in America talking about her in that way.
I used to work at the physical factory in Mossman. It was a gym, and I was, you know, the guy giving out lockers and towels and, you know, basically at the front desk. And my job was to not only get the members in and out, but to show prospective members around and hopefully sign them up. So this woman came in and she was larger than life, and I showed her around and we were laughing a lot. And this was Annie Semler. So I went out, I showed her around, and I came back and she goes, great, I'd like to join. I said, terrific. So I get out the sheet, and the first question I have to ask is, do you want 3, 6, or 12-month membership, right? And so I'm like, Annie, would you like it? And she looked at me and she goes, stop. I was like, what? She goes, you don't know this about me, but I'm a white witch and you're going to be a really, really big star. I mean, massive star. stop everything. I'm like, okay, sorry, was that the 3, 6, or 12-month membership? I thought, okay, she's off a rocker, and I just want to sign her up.
Here we are, Hugh Jackman and his wife, Deborah, on the stage in Broadway. Boy from Oz. What a fabulous show that was. He's such a talented man.
When she has one of those moments of inspiration, you just got to listen to Annie.
She goes, you need a headshot. And I said, Annie, I don't have any money. I earn $10 an hour here. I can't get a headshot. She goes, come with me. So I went back to her house. She said, my husband is going to do your headshot. And I'm like, Dean Semler, who just won an Oscar for Dances with Wolves, is going to do my headshot? And she goes, yeah. And he said, Dean. And he comes out wide. He said, this is Hugh, and you're going to do his headshot. And I could just see the look on Dean's face. It's like, you got to be kidding me. What? I'm doing a headshot for some kid from the local gym? And then my headshot for the first 5 years was done by Dean Semler. It's not a bad way to start.
What was this? What's it out on? Welcome back.
Thank you very
Here
much.
we are.
It's changed a bit
Channel
since the
9.
old days. Different entrance.
Look at this. It's the same. It's the same as it was. We did commercials over here, is that right?
That's right, camera 3.
Commercials, and the song and dance used to be there.
Yes. Then camera 3.
My camera was here, you were 2.
Yep.
And Ray Penny was camera 1 on the crane. Why was I 3? I could come and do this if I retire. What do you think, David? These are nice. What religion are these? Are they Sony? All right. This is cool.
Yeah, it's still.
Hey, can I do this tonight? I'll never forget the first time I ever went on a studio camera. And you said, frame it up, check focus, pan left. I was nervous as buggery. Pan left, pan right. Tilt up a little bit, will you? Just tilt up, tilt down. So you're saying, okay, commercial's coming up, commercial's coming up. Stand by 3, stand by 3. Just pan left a little bit, pan left a little bit, 3, pan, okay. Good, good, good. Lock it off there, pan left, pan left. 3 coming up here, 3, 3, 3, stand by. Take 3, light came on. And I was exhausted.
After having seen them all again, his mates and that, you know, he got the feeling that they all were very, very proud of him.
He writes me letters, and they're handwritten letters. She says, the American Society of Cinematographers is honouring me this year with their Lifetime Achievement Award. It came as a real shock. It could have knocked me over with a feather. You know, George, sometimes being a cinematographer is a pain in the ass. Like when you're filling in those customs and immigration forms, and you've managed to get in those tiny squares, and he's written with the really jumbled writing, cinema, and you've still got 9 letters to go. I wish I was a cop or a grip. That's a difficult thing.
These wonderful letters from these children arrived, and I think he just cried on the phone when he was reading them to me.
So this one here, for instance. Dear Mr. Semler, well done on your effort in your career. So all of a sudden now I've got 20 letters written by school children from Renmark in South Australia, my hometown. Football. All of them spelling cinematographer correctly. They had seen in the local paper that Angelina Jolie had presented me with the American Society of Cinematographers Lifetime Achievement Award. And a guy who's already gone digital, he's got the monitor on the side. Our class congratulates you for your hard work being a cameraman. I am year 3. Could you come to our school and introduce yourself? You could also show us how to make videos. I tell you frankly, I was very moved. I was very emotional really from these little kids from my hometown, from my country town where I was born. I was so surprised by them, I guess. I'd never had anything like that before. So we made the trip, and it was one of the greatest weeks of my life.
I mean, fancy helicopter from Adelaide coming in and landing on the school premises. You know, it was like, wow. And the kids were...
The South Australian Academy Award winner's taken a break from Hollywood to give something back to his hometown.
All of you probably have the same opportunities that I had. You live in a great country town, you've got a fabulous river, you've got a great community, you've got good friends, and I loved it here. I just loved it here, and I had a dream, and that came true. I just followed my dream, and you can do anything if you want. We're going to roll camera and action.
Scene 2.
So next up, we're going to pick up all your paper aeroplanes. Here we go. What number are we up to?
6.
Oh, we better put a 6 in then. Action! Oi! Oh, fantastic! Oh, that's
Makes us,
terrific.
you know, really see that it doesn't really matter if we're from the country, from the city, we can still achieve. It depends on your attitude and it depends on your willingness to, you know, try different things.
What's your favourite part and actor or parents of God?
When they're eating that ice cream cake. That was a lot of fun.
Scene 5.
He just did it so beautifully, and just every story he told, he's so entertaining, and I think the kids, he related so well to the kids. He spoke at their level. At the end of the day, they're all quickly writing letters after lunch, thanking them like he was like their hero.
Good. Action, everybody. What a great experience.
And we like it.
I've dreamt about this day since I decided to come over here. Look at all these little ankle biters here. Isn't it wonderful? Could be a future Prime Minister, future Academy Award winner.
We've got a little award. Do you think Mr. Semler deserves that?
What is that? Star of the Week Award for being a star student. Signed, Mr. Riggs. Thank you, I'm very proud of that. I want to thank you all for bringing me, every one of you. Those letters you sent me, I was on a big set and I was tired and I couldn't believe it. And I'll always thank you for it because I've come back to my hometown and I've met you all. Here we are, it's a civic reception in my honour, which is pretty amazing. And the mayor will be here and the local member and my brother could be here too.
On behalf of the Renmark Prinker Council, it gives me great pleasure to present to you the key to Renmark to commemorate your visit, and I trust that it will hold a very special place in your memoirs.
Two things happened recently that overshadowed any recognition or awards I've ever had. The first was the children and their letters. The second is right here tonight. And who would have thought in 1960 when I left Renmark for the last time that I'd be coming back 50 years later to a civic reception. An extreme surprise and an enormous honour, and I'm terribly grateful. Thank you. Mayor Neil, I have a question. You have given me the key to Renmark. Does that mean I have access to Linda's butcher shop so I can get a stick of metwurst any time?
I'm sure I can make a phone call.
Hey, Leon. You old bugger. How are you?
There you go.
How are you? Good, good.
Yeah, terrific.
Men don't hug normally, but brothers can. Brothers can. Big brothers, little brothers. How are you?
Oh, really
Good to
well.
see you.
Yeah, terrific.
Hello, Maureen.
I am so proud of him. He's really a country boy. He hasn't lost his Australian accent. There's an old song, to know him is to love him. And I think that's what people do, is if they know him, they really love him, yeah, because of not because of his cinematographer, but because of his whole attitude towards life.
Well, Mrs. Window, Hill Street,
little
North
Rip Spotter. How are you, mate?
He relished every minute. They really loved him being there, and all his old friends and his old girlfriends and schoolmates and the butcher and everybody. It was bringing back that time in his life back to life.
I'm sorry, fellas, but you have to breathe in.
The rest of the dead, mate.
We'd be parking our car in the street, and all these ladies would come, Dean, 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 oh, Dean, it's Dean. And I looked real, okay. It's like...
I never for a minute thought when I was living in 19th Street, Redmark, that I'd get further than Adelaide even. And to think what I've done in the past now, to where I've been to every country, to every major city, to some of the greatest, most luxurious hotels in the world, to some of the toughest living conditions, camping out in the highlands of New Guinea, you know, God knows. There's been a lot of water under the bridge since that asbestos house in Renmark. One of my greatest ambitions from when I started at Channel 9 when I was 17, 16, 18 years old was to get in a Falcon station wagon with a camera, 16mm camera and some colour film, and drive around Australia and just photograph Australia and kangaroos and crocodiles and
Haven't done it yet.
Will you do it?
Maybe. Probably not in a Falcon station wagon anymore.
They give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, the American cinematographers, and Angelina Jolie gives it to him. And then he says, life can't get any better than this. So that's what he thinks is. And then he says, yes, it can. And there he is in Renmark with a can of beer in his hand and a meat pie. And I think that typifies Dean. So he can get into all the grand and fancy stuff, but he's this humble, true blue, real salt of the earth Australian, the best of Australia.